world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Stephanie.
And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen.
Hi, welcome to the Soulful Leader Podcast. This is Stephanie Allen, and I'm here with Maren Stephanie. And we want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Yay, happy love day. There we go. So, ding, ding. I have been so moved lately by the magic that has been happening in my life. Recently, my cat, my elderly kitty, the one that is close to 16 years old, he recently lost his brother, and he's been mourning, and he's had a broken heart. And what's interesting, and so have I, I've been moving through my own brokenheartedness, and I like to call it open-heartedness. And last week, my kitty jumped up on my table and knocked over a vase that was my grandmother's and then was given to my aunt who had recently passed, and I had inherited it, and it shattered. It shattered into a bunch of pieces. And I don't know if you've ever had that experience of something that you hold dearly, whether it's, a physical item, material item, or, a relationship, or even parts of ourselves that we get really identified with, our old life, and it's shattered. Something's had to radically change. Well, that's kind of what moved me. And my first instinct was to go, dang. And so I got out the vacuum cleaner and I was trying to vacuum it up, and I was waiting for a client to come. And this lovely client comes in and she said, "Oh, what are you doing? Oh, no, don't vacuum it up. That's a beautiful china vase. I can repurpose that for you. I can do mosaics, and here, just give it to me and I'll take it." And so a week later, she comes back and she gifted me like 3 beautiful items from it. One, it was a mosaic heart. Another one was a pendant. And another one I haven't got quite yet, but she won't even tell me what it is, but it's going to require a couple other people coming together to make something out of it. So it's going to be a surprise and delight, I'm sure. But my point is that we can hold on to things so dearly only to have them, unfortunately ripped away from us before we're ready. And we can go into the itty bitty shitty committee and make all kinds of stories about what that's about and be hijacked by our emotions and have this incredible drug release inside of ourselves. Or we can sit with it, be with it, and trust that there must be something good happening for our future. And that opens up to surprise and delight. And so I wanted to just open that up as our podcast today, because we can get really attached to stories in our life about what we think it is, and we have our own internal reactions with it, and it doesn't even have to be true. And how, when we talk about leadership, we talk about, embodying leadership. It's not about trying to be something you're not. It's really learning how to lead with love. And that starts with ourselves first. How we move inwardly and asking ourselves, is this the most loving perspective I can have? Or is there something bigger that I can't see yet? So I know I could probably just ramble and ramble and ramble, but because I'm on a roll today, because I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. And someone said, about being repurposed with love, and that's the key, isn't it? It's not about being repurposed out of fear, which happens too, by the way. But I'd rather have the energy of love repurposing me. Can you relate?
Well, I think it's a perfect thing to think about, talk about. Obviously, we're talking about it. And for the audience, the perfect thing to think about today, this day that we've dedicated to love, which is a beautiful thing and has also some negative connotations because of all the consumerism around it. And so if we set the consumerism aside and we looked at, what if we really did celebrate love today in all of its forms, especially our self-love, which we've talked about multiple times on this podcast. So when we look at it from that lens, taking a moment and saying, where are the places in my life where I've wanted to sweep something under the rug or vacuum it up, whether it's like something that broke in the outer world or something that broke in the inner world. I can use my studio as an example where I had to close my studio, and there were definitely times in that process where I just wanted to sweep it under the rug, pretend like it didn't happen, and move on. And I realized that that did not honor me or serve me. It didn't honor any of the people who showed up for 14 years and were a part of our community. It didn't honor any of the people who taught for me, who worked with me, who made that possible. And it didn't honor any of the stuff that I learned over those 14 years. So when you use that term, repurpose with love, it brings up so much in me. It is such a rich term. And I am hoping that it's also bringing that up for you as our listeners of on this day of love, or if you're listening to it later in the week or even later in the year, if you were to look at the pieces of yourself that, as Stephanie calls it, the itty bitty shitty committee wants to tell you a story about whatever happened, how could you look at that with more love and repurpose lessons or information or even the story itself, repurpose it?
Yeah. And that restoring is restoration. So a lot of times, we lose our identity. Maybe we're retiring. Maybe, we got fired from our job or fired from our relationship or, something broke in us. I work with clients who struggle with a lot of those losses, losing a loved one or losing a sense of their identity, including myself. I think a lot of times that's what I personally find I'm grieving is who I thought I was. And now, I've lost, in a relationship, when a relationship ends, you lose the thing you had together, which is a third relationship really, is like the dreams and, the things that you're working towards, and it's all in that outer world. And so you're not just grieving the loss of a person. Sometimes you're also grieving the loss of your identity of who I was. I'm no longer a couple.
You're
Or
also grieving the loss of a dream.
that's right.
Like
All the
you
dreams
had
and the
this,
ideals that we
right.
had. So it requires myself, to then restructure myself. So I love that repurposed with love. It's like, if I believe I'm not worthy, if I believe I did something wrong or I'm bad or I'm not good enough, that is from a very unloving universe. And I always use the metaphor of the caterpillar because that's going to be my kind of my ritual now, is like, if you are a caterpillar, you will not understand butterfly language. It speaks completely different to you. You cannot understand the butterfly because you've never been there. And so you're consuming up all this information of which you're trying to figure things out. You're trying to make it feel better. You're trying to do something. And then you end up getting so dang full with information, overwhelmed, burnout, that you go into the chrysalis and you're like, dang, I'm dying. I don't want to die. And you try to hang on for dear life. And the best thing that can happen is that's when we surrender. If we can surrender, and what I mean by surrender does not mean giving up. Surrender means to rest in the arms of a loved one. You surrender, you rest, you trust. That's surrender. That's the true surrender of love. If you can go into that place, then things literally start to unfold for you. So I just recently had a conversation with a friend of mine. You know, he's been struggling with his identity. He's gone through some health crises, and his body doesn't work the same way that it used to, and he's had to change careers and different things. And he's like, I'm not the same person that my wife married, and I don't like that. I want to be who I used to be. And I said, that's like saying, you're in the chrysalis and you want to be a caterpillar still. But it's because we
Which
don't know. We're going to
we
be a
don't
butterfly.
know, right?
Don't
We
know.
were like, wait, I was a really sleek little caterpillar, and now
Yeah.
I'm like
I was sexy,
overweight
man.
and I'm sluggish and I feel like I can't move, and wait, I want to
it
go
sucks.
back.
And it sucks. I want to go back.
Not thinking that there's a forward, that there's like, well, what
Yes.
if it looks completely differently?
And that takes a practice. I mean, he was suggesting, he's like, gosh, Steph, how do you do it? You're so positive. You're so uplifting. I said, I have to practice that all the time. You don't think my itty bitty shitty committee is like big? It's freaking huge. It's huge. And so like what I show people in the outer world, I have had to practice to be that. That is real. It is real because I've practiced it. But I can also tell you, full disclosure, that my inner world, oh my God, it's a mess. Let me tell you, I'm cleaning up lots of like bonfires and garbage dumps and all of that stuff. And I'm not saying that from a self-pity place or even from I need to have a medal place. My point is repurposed with love. It's like the very thing that you all that are out there listening that you're struggling with, the very thing that you really also want. So I have to say, when you put a struggle and you put a desire together, that's actually where your gift and potential lies. And, yeah, there's lots of things we can struggle, but if you don't really care about it, well, that's probably not where your gifts lie. But if you really care deeply about something, move into it. Find a way to repurpose with love, to restore, and to go in with love, because there's going to be magic that'll happen. There'll be a revelation. I've said, so often we're kind of, used to going out there and trying to make things happen to change the world, but we don't really want to change ourselves. And that's actually the answer. And it doesn't mean that to change yourself means you're not good enough. It means you're actually good enough to change yourself. So what do I mean by that? I talk about the antidote. People who have gone through, God love them, a lot of hardship or a lot of struggle, whether it be financial or health crisis or love or whatever. It's often where their greatest gift and potential lies. I said, why do bad things happen to good people? That's because good people care. They have big hearts. And you get somebody who has a big heart, they're not going to be uncomfortable for very long. They're going to say, wait, I don't like this. I want to change this for myself. And God willing, I change it for myself. I'm going to help others to do so too. So we can put ourselves, like our purpose is to love, but we have to start with ourselves. And no perfect day than on Valentine's Day. and to be your own best lover, your own best date.
We had in the another art podcast last year, we had talked about the art of kintsugi, which is a Japanese art, and it truly is an art form of taking things that are broken and fixing them in a beautiful way. Exactly what we're talking about, of repurposing with love. And one of the things that I like that Stephanie had brought up today is when her client saw this vase that was laying there, and she's like, no, wait, I can do something with that. Stephanie ended up with 3 gifts out of that. And one of them is still in the offing. We don't even know what it is yet, which is super exciting. It's kind of like the extra surprise and delight.
Yeah.
So where my heart went with that was, oftentimes we think it needs to look the same way. So we put it back together, the art of kintsugi. We put it back together, and we do this inside our own selves too. Sometimes we put it back together badly, or we just want to sweep it under the rug. And then when we do shift, a lot of times we'll put it back together so it looks the same with a little bit more beauty. And what if it wasn't meant to look the same? And we got 3 completely, not just one thing that's
transformed.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Things.
3 totally transformed things. And when I look at that as a metaphor for what I could accomplish within myself or within my team, like, so as leaders, when we're thinking about this as leaders, and I'm not just thinking about myself, I'm also thinking about my team. How can I help them to not be so ripped apart by life? Because when my team is feeling like there is more that they offer, that they're transforming things, that they're repurposing themselves and the stuff, the work, et cetera, with love, now they're going to bring more to the table, which means I get more out of them as employees or as team members. And it just makes the whole teamwork functioning much better. So I guess, whenever I'm listening to something, or even when I'm in a conversation and I'm listening to someone, I'm always listening for what is the piece that's really standing out to me. And today, when as we're talking, the piece that's standing out to me is that transformation, that it may not look the same at all. Like a caterpillar going to a butterfly doesn't look at all the same. It's not, putting lipstick on a pig. It's actually the caterpillar completely transforms, and this vase now became a beautiful necklace and a beautiful mosaic heart and a yet to be determined.
Exactly. So beautiful. So beautiful. And abundance. Like it actually was
It
abundant.
multiplied.
It multiplied. And I couldn't do it on my own. I think that's another part of it too. It's like I don't have the skill, the passion, or the interest actually to do something mosaic. I love it. I love buying those kind of things, but that's her gift. So the broken vase allowed her to offer her gift, but the only way that she could offer her gift was that I needed to receive it.
Earlier, when you mentioned surrender, I think of surrender as allowing.
Yes.
And she wouldn't have been able to use her gift and gift you with something had you not allowed it, had you not surrendered into that moment and said, thank you.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful for both of you. She got to use her gift. You got 3 times what your vase was. And it's like, and we have something that's a metaphor that we can talk about with people and help. It's like we learn best through teaching stories, and teaching stories are metaphors. And that's where, I know I happen to learn best like that. And science has shown that that's how we learn best. That's why stories are passed down.
And that's very much the key to living in a higher story. We think of fairy tales and metaphors and make believe and ideals and dreams and all those things. We think, oh, well, that's not real. Yeah, you're right. It's not real. But, and it is a map in order to make it real.
It helps
what
lift
a glorious,
us up.
exactly, what a glorious uplift to be able to unfold in a new way that's more beautiful. I want to return back to just because it's so key to me of like we shame ourselves when we're broken. We shame ourselves because we should be fixed. We should have it all together. The shoulda, coulda, woulda, ought to, I call shame as should have already mastered everything, as an acronym. And I want to really put my emphasis on that of saying, what if you could let that go? And just in the moment and say, what if this was happening for me? We've talked about that in our podcast too. And taking it to another level is that what if I'm actually becoming the antidote for someone else who may not have the life force to see it in a higher story, or to have the life force to heal, or have the life force to choose a new way of being. And I have a great example. I was actually having Maren look this up earlier. As my career is athletics and things like that, I always look at leadership and athletics because athletes are leaders for us. They are role models. And, if you've ever been a runner, and maybe you are an amazing runner, but if you've looked at the history of that, the 4-minute mile, can you tell us about the 4-minute? Because this is such a metaphor about how, and a role modeling, an exemplar about what changes everything.
Well, Roger Bannister, Sir Roger Bannister, is the person who finally broke the 4 minute mile. And it had been seriously attempted for about 70 years. People were pursuing it. And one of the analogies
No,
you could
wait,
use
70,
70,
70,
70, not
70.
right, not
So just
17,
just take that
70,
in, people. 70. Like that's a long time.
to be pursuing a goal.
Right.
Yeah, and people on multiple continents and all around the world, and the press got involved, and it's like, just like, when you approach a mountain, from a distance, the mountain looks fairly small, right? And the closer you get to it, the bigger it, and you're like, oh crap, that's pretty big. And that was what was said about the 4 minute mile. Of as people got closer to it, it got to be this huge looming, undoable thing. Oh, it's not possible. It was, taken up, like I said, by the press and the media. And Roger Bannister actually he was kind of an outlier, because he didn't he didn't train with the other people. He had his own way of doing things, and the press were on him about it, and people would tell him he really should be training like everybody else. He was never going to do it, right? So, as we all know, he was the one who finally broke the 4 minute mile. And literally, I think it was like less than 2 months later, it was like 36 days later, somebody else not only broke the 4 minute mile, but like then shattered it. And within the next year, 3 more people broke the 4 minute mile. So here's something that hadn't been accomplished for 70 years. And obviously for much longer than that. And that's the amount of time that people were actively pursuing, trying to, achieve this goal. So he does it, and within a year, 4 more people do it.
So let's take that for a moment. So in your life, so this is a great practice. In your life, if there's something that you've been pursuing, maybe all your life, and you're just ready to give up. You're like, oh, it's never going to happen for me. Like it's not working. Like I said, whether it's health or finances or business or leadership or love, whatever it is. And you're like, I'm too old. It's too late. There goes the itty bitty shitty committee all to town, right?
All the
I
reasons.
want you to just go pause to that itty bitty shitty committee. And I want you to just take in what we just heard about the 4 minute mile. And what if there is somebody already on this planet that has shattered the very ideal that you want to move into, that's already stepped into it, that's already giving you the alchemical electrons possibility in the field for you to also step into it. So wherever we always hear about the trauma and the drama, don't we? Like what isn't working, and so died today, and this happened horrible over here, and blah, 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 blah. I tell people, oh my gosh, like be selective. Find the things that are most important to you that will help you live a life more of love and meaning, because that's the greatest way to court yourself and to court your butterfly self. Find someone who's an exemplar, who's a role model for you, because you may be the next person to break that 4 minute mile, whatever that metaphor is for you, whatever you're working on it. And then you are offering the alchemical remedy to the planet so that within a year, we all could be having it. This is how fast we can change the world. This is leadership, but it starts with ourselves.
And that's the thing, is when you look at it now, like the 4 minute mile is nothing. Anybody who's a serious runner does a 4 minute mile. So it's everywhere. It pushed past the threshold of impossible into, well, you have to be one of the elite, to, well, you just need to be a serious runner. And when we look at things like financial issues and relationship challenges, and even in business and teamwork and all of those things, like you said, what if we are a part of that chain of events where, okay, we've got 3 or 4 companies that are doing it a little bit differently. And well, it's just because they've got the money, and they've got the this, and they've got the training, and they've got the resources, and okay, what if it's not? What if it is meant to, then the next level is that hundreds of entrepreneurs are doing it. And then the next level is now it's available to everybody, because we each played our role in making it more available for the next generation, for the next
Which makes it
iteration.
easier and easier and easier for the next generation. Or we can
Exactly.
make it harder if we don't choose it. This is the problem, right? That could be the problem, or it could be the solution.
Right.
And that's a matter of choice and free will. I love that. It gives me
And the
hope.
thing is that as you said, it's a matter of choice and free will. And when we're in those moments
Mhm.
of, I can either sweep it under the rug or repurpose it with love. And we want to be grumbly and we
right.
want to complain at our cat
That's
or
right.
our boss or our husband or our wife or whatever the analogy is for you. If you can stop in that moment and make a different choice, that those are the moments, those are the things that change our lives.
Mhm.
I was on a 10-day retreat for myself. I took myself on a pilgrimage, and as happens with most like weekend things that we go on or long things, right? So in that moment, I had all my ahas and I was in my high and I had communed and I was one with the universe. And I found myself detained in China with no money, no cell phone, no friends, no one to contact, and no luggage. And I had a moment like that where I felt myself going right back into poor me. And this is what happens to us at the end of an event or something that is transformative, is we walk out of the event and we get slammed by life, our old life.
Yes, our old life. That's what's slamming us. Just to
That's what's
test
slamming
us.
us.
It's there to test us to see, do you really want to
Well,
change? Or do
I
you
don't like the word test. It's there to give us a choice. And in that moment, we can choose the new that we just experienced and that will take work to put into our life. And that work is those choices. Each moment that we make that choice of, you know what, I'm going to do it differently.
So
Or
we
we
could
can
look at
get
it, we could look at it
sucked
as
back.
initiation
Kind of.
or a
We can
birthing.
we can look at it as, it's like just taking those, because the true transformation did not happen over the 10 days. Yes, I experienced it over the 10 days. The true transformation happened in that moment when I was feeling poor me in the airport, having no luggage and not speaking the language and all of the other crap. And I thought, you know what? I can do it the old way or I can do it a new way. And I don't even know what that looks like. And I'm going to choose that new way anyway. And to me, the whole conversation today of repurposing with love is that in our lives, when we get slammed by life and we feel shattered, do we take that moment and repurpose ourselves with love? And that's what I guess this week of Valentine's Day, I would offer to all of you out there is to take that moment for yourselves this week and next week and the week after and all throughout the year, and repurpose yourself with love. And when you forget, reach out to somebody who remembers for you and helps you. Lovely. So thank you so much for joining us on this very special day of love. We look forward to seeing you next week. And you can always find us on our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page, The Soulful Leaders. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful week.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslak. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.